Loneliness can feel like a heavy weight, but it doesn't have to be your reality. In today's video, I'm going to cover practical steps that every man can take to overcome loneliness and start to cultivate the deep connections that we all need to thrive. This is the third video of a three-part series on loneliness. And in the first two videos, I've covered the subtle signs of loneliness and how to spot them, and the implications of loneliness and how that shows up in our mental health and physical health and within society. So if you haven't already checked those out, that could be a great starting point, and I'll link them in the description below. Building deep, meaningful connections starts with vulnerability. For much of my life, I thought I had deep connections, and to a certain degree I did. But there was a part of me that didn't feel fully seen and fully understood. And it was only in these recent years, as I started leaning more into this work, that I began to understand why. For much of my life, I shared just details about my experience and rarely about the depth of how things were impacting me in my life. And without my ability to share my deepest fears, my deepest struggles, the things that I'm avoiding in my life, without allowing that to be fully seen and witnessed, there was never a chance that I could be fully seen and be fully understood in the way that I truly desired. And again, I didn't even realize that that was missing in my life until I started to experience it. If some part of you is not feeling fully seen and understood in your relationships, in your family, this is an opportunity to start to dive deeper into vulnerability and to share more of how things are actually impacting you in your life. Even though it's scary, even though there's an internal sense that I could be rejected by sharing these things, that's the exact same thing that I need to lean into. The places that I don't want to be seen, the places that I don't love myself, are the exact same places that I need to be seen and witnessed in for me to actually be able to heal, for me to actually be able to grow and become more confident and develop a deeper sense of self-compassion, self-love, and experience a deeper connection with others. A term that I really like to use is lead with vulnerability. In our culture, most people actually just share details of their experience, and that leaves us living within shallow relationships. And so many of us are craving deeper depth, to be seen at a deeper level, to know another at a deeper level. And we lack the tools and the courage to actually bring our relationships to that place. So leading with vulnerability for me doesn't look like spewing your guts emotionally to everybody that you walk by. I think vulnerability, at least for me, is something that is earned. When somebody starts to earn my trust through ongoing accountability and showing up and showing that they are trustworthy, that is an opportunity for me to start sharing deeper depth of what's alive in me and the challenges that I'm moving through. And as I share, this is an opportunity to evaluate, how is that person reacting? How are they responding to the things that I'm sharing? Am I feeling alienated? Are they trying to fix? Are they trying to diminish my experience? That's gonna make me not feel seen and understood. However, if they are open and holding a space and asking questions and allowing me to move through the things that I'm feeling stuck or challenged in my life, then trust is being built. And it becomes a positive feedback loop. The more I can start to open up in micro moments of vulnerability and it's received well, then that allows a deeper opportunity for more vulnerable shares, for more connection. So when I speak of vulnerability, to be clear, it's not spewing our story on social media or to anybody that walks by. It's sharing the depth of what's happening in our lives to the people who deserve to hear it, the people who have the space and capacity to hold what we have to share. I think it's really important to exercise discernment in who we share with and how much we share, because we don't want to experience a deep sense of rejection or not feeling seen. And start to think, even right now, think of the kind of connections, that people in your life that deserve to hear a little bit more from you, that deserve to hear a little bit more about the depth of what's happening inside of you and the people that you think can hold that and support you through it. And my invitation to you is to lean into that edge of fear and to share a little bit deeper about what you're avoiding, where you're scared in your life, what you're feeling stuck in, and think of somebody and take the action to carve space so you can actually have a deeper conversation with that individual. And I bet you will be surprised with what you receive. Another obvious and yet overlooked way to overcome loneliness is to develop genuine male friendships. Strong male connections can make all the difference, and that's been the case in my life. Over these last few years, as I've started to lean deeper into my male friendships and cultivate a space for us to be able to share, open up, to address the root of our problems and not try and fix one another, not try and diminish each other's experience, but to hold space for it and just to be a support for them as they take action and lead their lives where they want to go. It's been the cure for me in terms of feeling a sense of support, feeling a sense of stability underneath me. And I've said this before, I'm a flawed and fallible human. And whenever I fall flat on my face, I need strong friendships around me to remind me of who I am and why I'm here. It's critical, and this cannot be overlooked. Something to keep in mind is to focus on quality, not quantity. It's better to have one or two best friends that you can share the depth of your experience and really allow yourself to be fully seen than it is to have 20 friends who don't understand you or know you at all. They only see a surface level picture of you and they're just your drinking buddy. Not that there's anything wrong with having a large amount of friends, but make sure that you have a quality few at least that you can turn to and share with and open up. Mentorship is another powerful way to combat loneliness, whether that is a therapist, a coach, an elder, a mentor of any kind. Whether you're in the mentorship role or you are being mentored and supported, this can be critical to have a safe space that has structure, that has agreements that you can open up in, and somebody that you feel that you can bring those deepest challenges to in an environment that is literally set up for that. If you don't have a therapist or a coach or a mentor in your life, I highly recommend trying to reach out to somebody and ask about ways that you can receive guidance and support. And even on the other end, if you're living with a lot of life experience and you think you can bring this value to somebody, you can also feel free to offer that. But this mentor connection is critical and it's changed my life. I have multiple mentors that I can now lean on and reach out to and speak with on a regular basis who help me elevate my life, who help me work through my challenges and really lead my life effectively. Another big thing to consider when it comes to overcoming loneliness and building deeper connections is our relationship with technology. Technology can both be a bridge and a barrier to connection, depending on how we use it. A framework that I developed when I was working in education to try and monitor how I was using technology with my students was a spectrum from passive consumption to active creativity. And so when you are using technology, think, are you using this to distract and to numb and to disassociate from what's happening in your life? Or are you using this to build and foster meaningful connections and stay connected with people who matter in your life? Or to create content and positively influence people and to share your thoughts, to express your ideas? That's something to really keep in mind. When we're spending too much time on screens and on social media, engaging with the world in such an artificial way, it can distort our sense of reality. So it's important to set healthy boundaries and time limits and personal restraints on the way this is engaged with, so that we're not dropping into a perpetual state of comparison or a fear of missing out, but it's actually a healthy relationship that I can be able to disconnect, put my phone down for days or at least hours is a critical thing to be able to have. And I remember a time where these things didn't even exist. And now we're in an age where it's hard to imagine leaving home without the phone. Even just small practices of like going out to the store or going out for a walk and leaving the phone behind are wonderful practices. And if you can stretch that to a day or multiple days or taking time off social media, and if you do take time off social media, you do not need to let everybody know that you're not going to be there. The world's going to continue without you being on social media. Just take time for yourself and notice how that feels. And as you return to that, if you desire to even return to that, you'll know that the world continued, people carried on, and we don't need to constantly be feeding the algorithms and pumping our attention into these screens all of the time. There are ways to disengage and foster real life connection with ourselves, with nature, and with other humans that exist beyond the screen. That said, virtual meetups and online interest-based groups can be a wonderful tool. A lot of people live in rural areas or don't necessarily have the capacity to go and build their connections in person all of the time. And so being able to actually jump into these spaces, whether that's a monthly basis or weekly or whatever kind of cadence and consistency you have, a place that you can regularly and routinely come together with other people. And ideally in those spaces, you're able to actually discuss things that are beyond the surface. Consistency is a key to remember here. And whether that's a weekly basis or a monthly basis, as long as you're continuously gathering with men and coming together is really the key part of it. And at Brothr, we actually have a free monthly call that's open to the public for any man that is curious about what men's work is like or wants to see what it's like to engage with other men at a deeper level than just the surface. So if you'd like that, the link will be in the description below and you'll be able to get all the access to every monthly meeting. One final tool to keep in mind when wanting to cultivate deeper connection in your life is start to think about the interests, the hobbies, the passions that you have, and find where those are happening in your community. Whether you're interested in sports or various activities or book clubs or gardening or hiking or whatever it is, find out where these things are happening in your community. You could go online and start to search where that might be happening, or leverage social media to see where these groups already may be, or go out to the outdoor store if you like hiking and ask them about regular events, or the running room, or a library for book clubs. There's all kinds of options and resources that you can tap into so that you can find people who have shared and similar interests that you can meet with on a regular basis to both find something to do and have things to talk to. Men in particular are most likely to gather around an activity. Women are much more likely to just sit down and be fine to sit down and talk, whereas men like to be able to do an activity, again, whether that's hiking or sports or any kind of thing that they can engage with. That's a place where a lot of conversation tends to take place. So I encourage you to find things that are happening in your community that you can be involved with, engaged with, or volunteer with. One type of group in particular that I would highly recommend for every man is joining a men's group, whether that's in person or online. There's tremendous value and benefit in coming together regularly with men who are seeking to grow. That is an intentional space to bring your struggles, bring your challenges, bring your successes, and to share those in a vulnerable way and in a confidential space. And with that continuity, with that feedback, with that ongoing support, with that unconditional love, this is a place where you can really break through barriers, really confront the shame, the parts of yourself that you don't love, and receive tremendous support to be able to elevate your life, to be able to achieve the things that you've been desiring, the things that have been put on the back burner, where now you have support. Now you have somebody keeping you accountable to really lead effectively. And when you are not in alignment, men who are going to call you in to help you remember who you are, to help you step back up every time that you fall down. So again, finding a men's group, finding a community where men are intentionally gathering and sharing what's going on in their lives and supporting one another through it is absolutely critical from my perspective to be as effective as possible at leading your life. And with Brothr, we actually have an online community to support this very thing. So if this is of interest to you, feel free to check out the link in the description below and you can learn more about the community. And if you still have any questions, feel free to contact me directly and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. Loneliness doesn't have to be a life sentence. Even by taking one of these steps that I've mentioned in this video, you're already moving towards a stronger and more connected life. The key is consistency. Show up for yourself and show up for others, and have the courage to lean in and share what's fully alive in you with the people that deserve to hear it. If you think there's a man in your life who would benefit from hearing this, please share it with them so that we can make sure that more individuals do not fall through the cracks of despair and loneliness. And if you have other strategies on how to develop a deeper sense of intimacy and connection that I didn't cover in this video, feel free to drop it down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that so we can build and continue this conversation together. Thanks again for tuning in. This is Stu Murray signing off, and we'll see you next week.